Welcome once again to the group exhibit Hydrogen Fuel Cells and Batteries at the Hanover Fair 2016. Please do come and join us, have a drink on the house. Joining me on the stage for our next talk is Commissioner Catherine Smith from the state of Connecticut and Mr. Joel Rinebold, Director at the Connecticut Center of Advanced Technology. We will be speaking about the business development opportunities and supply chain development for hydrogen and fuel cell companies in the state of Connecticut. If you have any questions at any time, please do raise your hand. I'll try and find you and bring over the microphone so that you can join the discussion. Please join me in welcoming our guests.
Thank you, Christine. Great to be with you.
So, Commissioner Smith, there are several major fuel cell companies in the state of Connecticut. Would you mind describing them and what they do?
Sure. You know, we're blessed to have 8 very large companies in the state, including Proton On-Site, which I just saw their sign walking around, Doosan Fuel Cells, as well as Fuel Cell Inc., all located and headquartered in the state. And that's really helpful to us because we also have a number of other supply chain companies, about 600 in total, that are supporting the Connecticut economy and, of course, helping this industry move forward.
Okay, wonderful. And Joel, in a recent study by the U.S. Department of Energy, the state of Connecticut was listed as one of the top 5 states for fuel cells in America. Can you speak a little bit to why you think that is?
Oh, sure. So I think just as the commissioner said, Connecticut has a terrific supply chain. And that means we've got people that research, manufacture, make it, and export it. The supply chain has about 600 companies, and we support our companies. That is, the companies make these fuel cells for global export, but the state of Connecticut buys those products, we use those products, and the state is a showcase in what we manufacture. So we have hydrogen production, we've got fuel cells, and we use those products. DOE recognizes this, and they've recognized that not only do we make it, but we deploy and demonstrate. So it really is a showcase of the technology. Great place to showcase the technology.
You live it as well. The whole state does. That's wonderful. Yeah. Commissioner Smith, why would a company want to locate in the U.S. and why in particular the state of Connecticut for fuel cells?
Well, I think probably one of the biggest factors for choosing the United States and particularly Connecticut is because of the great talent that we have that is working diligently in this business. So in Connecticut, we believe we support about 1/3 of the United States jobs that are in the fuel cell industry, about 50% of the jobs that are in the northeast part of the United States, and about 12 or 13% of the global jobs are located in the state. So that's number one. We have a great resource in talent, which I think is very, very important. But I would also say we're investing, Joel mentioned a couple of the areas, but particularly in the research side of it, our state university, the University of Connecticut, has a group in their engineering school that's dedicated to this field, and they are working closely with each other and with the industry to try to help on the edges of what are some of the important areas that are being considered in fuel cell technology as well as battery technology. And those things, I think, help companies feel comfortable that they can continue to evolve and innovate very effectively. And I'd say last but certainly not least, you know, we are in a great location in Connecticut. We're smack dab in the middle of the entire East Coast, and it is, you know, 1/3 of the United States economy is driven from there, plus a lot of the Canadian economy is on the East Coast as well. So if people want access to markets, there's really not a better place to locate. And if you add all those things together, it really makes Connecticut quite attractive for the fuel cell industry.
Okay, and given that you're well located and we're speaking about access, what about transport? Maybe Joel, could you speak to what efforts are underway in Connecticut to develop a hydrogen infrastructure for transportation?
Right. Connecticut has excelled in stationary and portable fuel cell units, but clearly the market is showing progress for fuel cell electric vehicles, and this is being driven by policy for zero-emission vehicles, ZEV vehicles. So we're following that market, we understand that market, and we're making Connecticut available for that market. Now, we make the technology, but those fuel cell electric vehicles need the hydrogen for fueling. So we've got that technology, and we're working currently on building hydrogen refueling stations in the state to support those vehicles. And the idea behind it is follow the market. We don't make the market. We follow the market. We understand what the demand is. People want zero emissions, fast refill, a range of 300 miles, and a car that works and works well. So we're going to put that all together, and we've got the hydrogen refueling stations coming online for this summer.
And Christine, I might add that the state is committed already to an 80% reduction in carbon emissions by the year 2050. So we're counting on these kinds of new technologies to help us get to that level. And so transportation being, you know, probably 40% of our emissions is really critical that we go after and reduce in that area in particular. So that's another good reason why fuel cell companies can be comfortable that we're going to be wanting to be a user of these products in our state.
Wonderful. But you're in Europe, so you have to speak in kilometers, not miles.
That's right. So sorry about that. I speak in dollars, not euros, too. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. So, like, range over 500 kilometers, so you have fueling stations spanning the state, so you can drive from one side to the other as of this summer?
We've got a roadmap document that'll provide guidance of where the station should go, how many should be built, and when they should be built. So we've got a plan to help industry follow it so that they can follow the market, where, when, and how. So it's all spelled out. And I actually have copies of it at our booth, so if anyone's interested, you know, we'd love to have folks take a look.
Great. Would you be able to talk about how you're helping industry along? What policies and incentives exist within the state of Connecticut?
Mm-hmm. Well, on the transportation side that we were just talking about, Connecticut is providing some funding for the hydrogen refueling stations. So we're funding the stations. We also are providing some funding for rebates so people can buy down some of the cost of the vehicles. The early market adopters will get a break on the price. And furthermore, the state itself is contemplating how many vehicles to purchase for itself. That is, lead by example. On the stationary side, and we do strongly support the stationary fuel cell development, we have a systems benefit charge on the electric grid that provides funding for stationary power. We've got REC programs, which are renewable energy programs that provide production credits. That is, you get paid as you produce. There's greenhouse gas credits, grants, and we have the a Connecticut State Green Bank that'll provide loans and financing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I want to spend a second on the Green Bank. I happen to be the chairman of the board of the Green Bank, so I'm a little biased, I'll give you that. But the Green Bank is also supporting businesses who want to upgrade their facilities and go green, so they can essentially get 100% financing for that property change and for anything that's attached to the building, essentially, be that efficiency gains or be that a fuel cell or other types of energy efficiency. And it's a fabulous program because while the government is involved, it's a quasi-governmental agency. Most of the funding for the program is coming from the private sector, so it's matching 10-to-1 the investment of the government. And of course, the companies are very excited about this because when they put a fuel cell in or something of that sort, solar panels, they're finding they can bring the cost of energy down significantly. And we have a lot of manufacturers in the state of Connecticut, so this really allows them the opportunity to not only do the right thing for the environment, but also be more competitive in the way that they're pricing their products.
Wonderful. Financing is always a little bit of a gap that exists.
Exactly.
So that's great that you're bringing that to the table. I'm wondering what else you do for businesses in the state of Connecticut. Is it easy to bring a business to Connecticut?
Sure. You know, my department we are here at this show. We've got a booth just down the row over there. We provide a number of financing alternatives to help companies reestablish themselves in Connecticut if they wanted to come from another part of the world or from another part of the country. We have what we call a concierge level service that allows companies to really get access to all the attributes of the state. So if you wanted to look at different real estate sites and find the right one for you. This group can help you do that. If you wanted to make that connection to the University of Connecticut and one of the researchers there, the professors in that field, if you wanted to be introduced to some of these large companies that are in Connecticut or understand the benefits of the supply chain that we discussed earlier, all of those are available through our concierge service. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for the state. So if you couple those two things, both a very competitive financial assistance package and then really a lot of technical support to get yourself in the state and comfortable there, I think it makes Connecticut stand out as really a terrific place to relocate. And again, right in the midst of the gigantic U.S. market, which is another great attribute.
Which is growing exponentially.
Yes, it is indeed.
Yeah. I was wondering if anyone has questions at this time. If not, I'd like to come back and, Joel, perhaps I'd like to know more about the supply chain that you're discussing. What is the expertise that exists? You said 600 companies?
Well, there's 600 companies, and it's a comprehensive collection of companies that research, prototype, design, manufacture, export. And the supply chain includes financing services, legal services, and export services. So to the extent, if you're interested, if there is interest in bringing a company into the state, there's assistance for everywhere possible for a company to succeed. We support that industry. We support that supply chain. There's 600 companies, and Connecticut is the focal point of the regional hub. So there is a region with 1,200 companies. About half of those companies are focused in Connecticut. So we do have a hub there, and it's a good place for companies to work together and to provide more than just working alone.
You know, can I just add on to that? Because one of the things that's very impressive about being in a small state like Connecticut is that you can get easy access to all the different components of what you need inside of your job. For example, Joel and I, just before we came up to talk with you, were chatting about a company that we're working with in Connecticut that's going through an approval process and how we can work together with the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, with CCAT, which is where Joel is, which is our Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology, with the university, and find ways to solve problems that companies might have. And if we need to, we just, commissioner to commissioner solve the problem. So it really makes it a great place for companies to think about locating, because although it's in the midst of this very large market, it behaves much more like a small state. So you really have access to the key players, and I think that makes it easier for businesses as well.
All right, well, it sounds like you have a lot of political infrastructure, a lot of technical know-how. I'm wondering if the community as well is supportive of green energy in general and fuel cells in specific. What, in terms of the workforce and the education that's provided, how do the people support?
Well, you start, Joe.
Yeah, the market supports clean, reliable power. And using our services, our cluster, we're able to drive down the price. So that gives us an opportunity to have it cleaner, more reliable, and cost-effective. And that's the key. We want the price, we want the cost of this technology to be at a level that's at parity with conventional technology. And we're using our supply chain, our government, our financing to lower the price, drop that price so that people have an easy decision. It's the same cost for cleaner, more reliable energy as something else. So it is working, but it's not without assistance. It does need some help.
And, you asked about the public's view on this area as well, and I think Connecticut is a leader around the country. The Green Bank that we talked about earlier is the very first green bank, not just in the United States, but really worldwide. In fact, we had a meeting a couple of days ago for the Green Bank, and we looked at the other banks that have been established now. There's one in California, one in New York, but that's it in the States, and there are a few under development. So I think that speaks miles about, or kilometers, sorry, about how people view this. It's a very high priority for our public, and that's, I think, measured by this Green Bank, which has full support from the state. It's measured by the fact that we've committed already to bring our emissions down, and we're now just about how we execute against that. And I think it's in the nature of the way people behave inside the state as well. So a lot of homes are being converted off of traditional oil to more fuel-efficient technologies, including fuel cells. And I think we're starting to see the fruits of that labor, of people really being anxious about making a difference for the planet. And so I think Connecticut is a leading state in the United States, and the United States is trying to be a leader as well in going green. And fuel cells are a great way to get there.
So wonderfully a little bit biased, albeit, but wonderful place to live and do business, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
Any further questions? If not, I will, if you could please join me in thanking our speakers for this wonderful talk.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you.
Great. Please do stick around for the next talk. We're going to hear about Anyfield project, which is a large European project. We're going to be hearing about empowering energy consumers through fuel cell micro CHP with Alexander Dauensteiner, the head of management system products from Valiant GmbH. Thank you.